Well, hi there, and welcome to our Sunday Hymn Time. Yes, here on the first Sunday of February 2024. So I say happy month to you. And we just had Groundhog Day. And here in this part of the world, I think the groundhog has predicted an early spring. Yeah, that's fine by me. All right, listen, Groundhog Day. I think I might have even mentioned this a year ago. I can't remember. I've been doing these songs for a while now. But Groundhog Day has always been very special to me. Well, now, okay, first of all, something about February, it feels like we turned a corner, right? Just a little bit longer now and spring is coming. But, I remember as a kid, asking my mom, really, about a groundhog? And yes, and if he sees his shadow, oh, he'll be scared. He'll run back into his little burrow. Oh, well, what does that mean? Well, since the groundhog is scared, he's going to predict that we're going to have 6 more weeks of winter. Oh, but if he doesn't see his shadow, oh, well, that means an early spring. And I remember asking Mom, really? Well, when will spring come then? Oh, she said, in about 6 weeks. And, even as a kid, it doesn't take too long to put 2 and 2 or 6 and 6 together, because you suddenly realize, wait a second, this is just something silly. But then, okay, as I mentioned, here in Ontario, Canada, some of you folks are watching this from different places in the world. I guess the famous groundhog, thanks to the movie, is Punxsutawney Phil. But up here in Ontario, oh, we've got Wiarton Willie, up there in Wiarton. And I just keep thinking to myself, well, listen, if you live up in Wiarton and it's cold in February, I mean, we make our own fun here in Canada during the winter. So it's just something kind of silly. But February 2nd is a huge day for me. Well, and it took me a while, several years, before I finally figured it out. Thanks to Google, because you're able to check a calendar from 1978. And, well, it was early February of that year when I prayed to receive Jesus as my Lord and Savior. Yes, I said to him, Lord, I'm a sinner. I believe you died and rose again for me. And so would you come into my heart and life and save me and let me live for you? And well, it was some feeble little prayer. And, I prayed it in the office of Pastor Paul Fletcher down there in Simcoe, Ontario. And Paul, if you're watching, a shout out to you. He just had a birthday not too long ago. And so Groundhog Day has always been significant to me. And of course, I'm always bugging you. Come to Jesus. And in fact, this song kind of, it's really more of a message, though, of bringing all of your troubles, whatever's on your mind, bring it to Jesus. In fact, tell it to Jesus. That's the name of this song. And funny thing is that I only heard it done by Willie Nelson. Yes, and wow, Willie Nelson. Now, okay, as I record this, Willie recently had his 90th birthday celebration. Yes, and he still sings quite well and can really pick that guitar. And some of you know his guitar is affectionately known as Trigger. And I mean, that guitar looks even older than Willie. But anyway, so I've heard it done by Willie Nelson, and I'm sure many others have done it. It goes back, actually, this hymn was originally written in German. And let me see here. It was done by Edmund Lawrence, who lived from 1854 to 1942. Yeah, he wrote it in German. And the English translation was made, I guess, back in the 1800s by Jeremiah Rankin. And sometimes Jeremiah Rankin gets incorrectly listed as the author. But he did translate it. And like I say, this has just been a significant time of year for me. And, okay, I won't bug you too much more. I will share a couple scriptures, though, at the end of this. But I hope you enjoy this rendition of Tell It to Jesus. Are you weary? Are you heavy-hearted? Tell it to Jesus. Tell it to Jesus. Are you grieving over for joys departed. Tell it to Jesus alone. Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. He is a friend that's well known. You have no other, such a friend or brother. Tell it to Jesus alone. Do the tears flow down your cheeks unbidden? Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. Have you sins that to men's eyes are hidden? Tell it to Jesus alone. Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. He is a friend that's well known. You have no other, such a friend or brother. Tell it to Jesus alone. Do you fear the gathering clouds of sorrow? Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. Are you anxious? What shall be tomorrow? Tell it to Jesus alone. Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. He is a friend that's well known. You have no other, such a friend or brother. Tell it to Jesus alone. And are you troubled at the thought of dying? Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. For Christ's coming kingdom are you sighing? Tell it to Jesus alone. Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. He is a friend that's well known. You have no other, such a friend or brother. Tell it to Jesus alone. Tell it to Jesus alone. Tell it to Jesus. Whatever it might be. He is the friend that sticks closer than a brother. The other morning I was reading some devotional thoughts, and the person that was writing that devotional drew our attention to these verses, and I just want to leave them with you, and because they really stuck with me. Psalm 73, and I've thought about this my whole life now, since that February morning in 1978, when. Well, I don't know. Did Wyerton Willie see his shadow? I know Pat Murphy saw the light. And ever since that day, I've walked with him. And he's been so kind to me, by the way. I don't deserve a bit of it. But in the gospel of Jesus Christ, we're given the righteousness of God. It's a gift. It really is. All by grace. Now, some people have a real hard time with that. No, I got to be able to do something. I got to be able to prove why I'm a holier person than my next door neighbor. No, you receive it as a gift, and then you walk with him. You walk with him, and he'll walk with you your whole life. I think that's the bigger one. He'll walk with you. He wants to be near you. And so, Psalm 73, just these couple of verses here. And in verse 23, the author says this, I am always with you. You hold me by my right hand. You guide me with your counsel, and afterward you will take me into glory. I guess I'm just simple enough to believe that. Yes. Now, as he says, my heart and my flesh may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. Hey, I don't know whatever it is that's on your mind, and some of you have been walking with the Lord maybe even longer than I have. Some of you have yet to just reach out your hand and take his. But whatever it is, whatever's on your mind, tell it to Jesus. Tell it to Jesus. He is a friend. That is well known. Pretty much everybody in the world's heard of him. Make him your friend and walk with him. He'll walk with you. God bless you on this February Sunday morning.